Yo, it's Tog, and yesterday LSS banned multiple cards in their classic constructed banned and restricted announcement, targeting the top 3 decks in the meta, but we think they may have missed the mark a little bit. So in this video, we're going to discuss the top 4 cards we believe that should have been banned in classic constructed. So before we get into the first one, coming in at number 4, we got to go over discard effects real quick. Discard effects have always been and always will be one of the strongest things you can do in any TCG. But in Flesh and Blood, this fact is exaggerated, as most other competitive TCGs have the player draw at the start of their turn, which helps nullify this effect just that little bit. But instead, in Flesh and Blood, the players actually draw up at the end of their turns, meaning they have to feel the full impact of the discard effects on their own turn, as well as the turn that it actually happens. So in Flesh and Blood, this is why cards like Pummel, Crippling Crush, Aether Icebane, and Terra Sunder are all agreed to be super powerful cards, but at least all of these cards have some form of counterplay around them. But the card that we actually have at number 4 is the rare discard effect that actually has no counterplay. So coming in at number 4, we have Insidious Chill. Insidious Chill is a 3-cost blue Ice Aura card that blocks for 2, which reads, Insidious Chill enters the arena with 3 frost counters on it. When it has no frost counters on it, destroy it. Then, whenever you Ice Fuse, remove a frost counter, and if you do, target hero discards a card unless they pay 2. Now, like I said before, this is one of the rare uncounterable discard effects, as when the player fuses any card, the Insidious trigger demands the defending player must discard unless they pay 2 before they're even able to deal with the actual card being presented that turn, which more often than not leads to another forced discard out of the defending player. This interaction leads to toxic playlines where the defending player is unable to play any card in their next turn, because like stated before, they don't redraw until after their next turn, essentially time walking the opponent and setting up the Insidious player to just do it again and again. And as we just saw, even LSS agrees that this effect is super powerful, as they just banned Amulet of Ice, but somehow the more unfair version of the card was unaffected, since Insidious Chill is effectively just 3 Amulet of Ices in one card, and that's why we got it at number 4 of cards that we would like to ban. Now coming up next at number 3, we actually have Crown of Seeds. Crown is an earth headpiece that reads, once per turn instant, you may pay 1 resource. Put a face down card from your arsenal onto the bottom of your deck, then draw a card and prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to your hero this turn. Now for the newer players, this card's effect may sound pretty straightforward and maybe even reasonable, but when you actually break down the things that you're achieving when you activate Crown of Seeds, it can be broken into 7 different things. So number 1, cycling your arsenal into a better playable card for that turn. Number 2, cycling your arsenal card into a card in your hand means that you're actually able to block now using your arsenal essentially. Number 3, cycling your arsenal and drawing a blue actually net gains you 2 resources for that hand, as it only costs 1 to activate, making it a pseudo energy potion. Number 4, the arsenal cycling also nullifies any arsenal disruption cards like CNC or disable. Number 5, the cycling also aids in hiding your pitch stack from your opponent. Number 6, the damage prevention allows Oldhim to block out breakpoint attacks effortlessly. And now number 7, the damage prevention can also block both arcane and physical damage. Now if you've watched any of our deck techs, you'll know that we're huge fans of flexibility in our cards, but when the card is this flexible and it also being an equipment slot with an instant ability, meaning the Crown of Seeds player has access to all of these options almost every single turn of the game, just puts this card at a power level that we believe that it deserves to be banned, and that's why we got it at number 3. Then next up, coming in at number 2, we actually have Channel Lake Frigid. Now this one we don't believe should be straight out banned, but instead restricted until Icelander hits Living Legend, as she abuses this card to a whole nother level. Now to explain, Channel Lake is a 2-cost Ice Blue with Go Again that blocks for 3 and reads, cards and activated abilities cost opposing heroes an additional 1 resource along with the Channel Ice ability. Now with Frostbite's already being an extremely difficult and toxic thing to play through, this card takes that 1 step further because it's essentially a permanent Frostbite on the field for only your opponent. Now Channel Lake single-handedly has a chokehold on which decks can be relevant in the meta because of this uncounterable effect. Decks with low blue count can't become relevant, as they simply can't play a turn out properly when Channel Lake is on the field. Channel Lake shutting down just a single turn out of the opponent is enough to straight up win you a game of Flesh and Blood. But then you have to factor in that Channel Lake can potentially stay out multiple turns due to the Channel Ice effect, or it being played at instant speed due to Icelander's hero ability, and now you simply have an uncounterable, unplayable, and just unenjoyable card design, and that's the reason why we believe this card should actually be banned. But now coming in at number 1, we actually have Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. Now, Mask of the Pouncing Lynx is actually a ninja headpiece with 2 block and blade break, which reads, when an attack action you control hits, you may destroy Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, and if you do, search your deck for an attack action with 2 or less attack, banish it, shuffle, and you may play it this turn. Or simply put, activate this, deal 7 damage. Due to the fact that the only real requirement to get the value out of this card is to run 1 to 4 cards in your deck to be able to search for them, it's safe to say that this headpiece is essentially a free 7 damage. Any hero in the game would run a headpiece that says activate this, attack for 7. The downside, and I say downside with quotation marks, is that an attack action must hit in order for it to activate, but this downside can often turn into an upside as opponents might turn to blocking out your later attacks in fear of you activating your mask, even if that wasn't your intention. So for these reasons, we believe that the activated effect is essentially free for the mask player, but even when a player somehow finds an effective way to keep the mask player off of activating this mask, the player is then rewarded by the mask player still being able to just gain 2 life due to the block value on it. This design leads us to believe that the card is essentially an uninteractive, free of cost 7 damage helmet, which when you put it like that, simply outshines almost any other equipment in the game that you try to compare it to. Now tell us in the comments if you think we're tripping. Would love to get other people's opinions on this, but that's it for the video, and thanks for watching. We outie.